When you parachute in, you cut the cord, hide the chute, and do your best to survive. Hi everyone, I'm Jacob. I'm the CowHatLibrarian. I was excited for this one. If you've watched my previous videos, you'll know that I was quite a fan of Parachute Kids by Betty C. Tang. And when I heard she'd written a sequel, I was super excited. I couldn't wait to continue reading it because the story was so compelling. It was a piece of history I didn't know existed, quite frankly. And the story really hit me. It got to me. I quite enjoyed the story of those kids trying to make their way in America on their own with their parents back home in Taiwan. And to learn that there was a follow-up, that was incredible news. So, today I'm talking about Outsider Kids by Betty C. Tang. So, really quickly, if you haven't already, go read Parachute Kids by the same author, because this story picks up right where Parachute Kids left off. Now, there's enough context in the story that new readers won't get left too far behind, but for them to really appreciate what's going on, why things are the way they are, and a few references to the events of the previous book, they'd definitely be better served having read the first one. Anyway, as the story starts, Anne, Jesse, and Jason are still adapting to life in the United States. They celebrate their first Halloween, and Anne has a makeshift paper bag costume that she thinks is kind of dumpy compared to her friends' costumes, but that the parents giving out candy don't mind at all. And the only bad part about the whole evening was that her stomach was sore from eating too much candy. She still isn't great with English, but she's gradually getting better, and she's enjoying some of her school classes and her friends there, and she hopes to join the school band. There is the small problem of a tryout fee that she doesn't have the money for, and her older sister doesn't want to give her the money for, and there's a follow-up fee to be in this band that they know there's no way they can afford, but Jason sort of encourages her and says, you know what did mom and dad want us to be here for if it wasn't for things like this? And he loans her the money of some money he had put aside. And so she forges her mom's signature, hands in the form and the money, and so she can do this audition. And things go from there. Jesse and Jason make friends with a brother and sister of a family who attend their school, and Jesse and the daughter study together, and Jason and the boy end up sort of very gradually realizing that they're attracted to each other and they really like hanging out together. And that's set on the backdrop of Jason occasionally running into the boy who he had been hanging out with in the previous book, who was involved in him being hurt and having to go to the hospital. Anyway, as things go, the siblings' aunt and their cousin end up staying with them for a while, and they're fairly well off. Their family owns a business, they're buying a little house that looks like a mansion to these kids, and their cousin is sort of a princess. In fact, her Americanized name is Josephine, and they say straight in the book that she's named after Napoleon's princess, and it really doesn't bode well for the type of character she is. She's bossy and domineering, and she's been there long enough that her English is very good, partly because she studied English elsewhere before coming to America. And she gradually drives a wedge between Anne and her friends, and she's not very nice to Anne. Now, she's also kind of full of herself because she's hoping to attend this prestigious music school. And in a fit of anger, Anne writes a letter to that school telling her what a horrible person her cousin is. This was an amazing sophomore effort. As I was reading it, I was just as compelled by the story of these three kids as I was when I read Parachute Kids. The first book ended with a bit of hope for them, and this book continues that trend where things seem like they're going good, until they hit major, major bumps in the road as things happen. And I really like the characterizations. I love that they bounce back and forth between the older dutiful sisters taking care of the house and desperately trying to get really, really high SAT scores to get into a good school, and the sort of lackadaisical middle brother who's more concerned with his social life, and the younger sister who doesn't understand why they can't afford to send her to do a band audition when she's not very good at music yet. And these characters just bounce off each other so well. Their cousin is such a great antagonist for them to play against. The art style, Tang did solid work in her first effort with Parachute Kids and continues that all the way through. Great color, great illustrations, clear character designs. I liked it a lot. And this, as I said before, well, I definitely recommend reading Parachute Kid first. It's still accessible for people who haven't. The sheer fact of the matter is that Betty C. Tang knocked this one out of the park. It is an absolute winner. I highly recommend it. If you like semi-autobiographical graphic novels, particularly those that deal with culture and immigration and fitting in, things like Mexikid, American-Born Chinese, possibly Twin Cities, you'll find a lot to like here. I highly, highly recommend it. And normally I would pause here and say, well, it wasn't perfect. Here are the deal breakers. And honestly, I'm not sure I have much to complain about or even nitpick. My biggest complaint is that the ending is so positive for the kids as far as these things go that I'm not sure if Tang will be able to continue the series. But I am hopeful because on the cover of this book, it's labeled Outsider Kids, a Parachute Kids graphic novel, not a sequel to Parachute Kids. This makes it sound like she and her editors and her publisher are planning for this to be a series. And that brings me a lot of hope because I want to read more of these characters' lives. It's compelling work. Now, there are going to be some spoilers ahead though, because I want to finish talking about the story for those of you who want to know whether you should recommend it to the readers in your lives or not. Anne's attempt at writing that letter to the music school backfires badly. It's returned to their house because the postage was insufficient, and her brother hands it off to the cousin because he assumes she's the only one who'd be writing to this music institution. And so the cousin reads this nasty letter that Anne wrote about her. And soon after that, police come by the house to ask about their documentation and their immigration papers and their passports. Now, Jessie handles things very, very well. She's calm. She explains to the officers that the paperwork's in a safe deposit box in the bank, so she can't get it till the next day. And there are lots of people who make trouble for immigrants. She's sure they can understand, and then they make a run for it. They try to take the bus out of town, but the bus depot's closed, and so they have to make the drive. They drive to San Francisco to family they have who live there. And getting to San Francisco is incredible for Anne because they drive into Chinatown. And there are people celebrating Chinese New Year. And when they get to their aunt's house there, she gives them New Year's envelopes. And she feels basically at home right away. She meets her new cousin who's also into music, but isn't an expert at it and isn't completely full of herself. And the story ends with so much hope for them, even though their parents are still in Taiwan, that it was great. I highly, highly recommend this. Go read Parachute Kids. Go read this. Go borrow them both from your public library. While I'm on that topic, if you use and appreciate the services offered by your public library, why not take just 1 minute and tell the powers that be exactly that? Tell your mayor, tell a council member, tell your MP or MLA that you use and appreciate the services offered by your public library. We're at a time where some public libraries are having trouble finding sustainable funding to continue improving the materials, programs, and services they offer. And a few good words in the right ears might make a world of difference. If by some chance you're a library staff member, don't forget, watching my videos counts as professional development time. With that, thanks for listening to me pull the cord on how great this one is. By all means, please like, please subscribe, and please check back to see what else I have to talk about from the CowHat Library. Thank you. Bye now.